Imagine losing months, or even years, of your life in the blink of an eye. One moment you're sipping coffee, the next, you've got a wife, a kid, and no memory of how you got there. That's what happened to me after something in the woods sank its claws into my soul. And trust me, it wasn't just stealing my time. It was feeding on me. 3 years ago, I sat slouched over my laptop in the dimly lit back room of the music store I managed, scrolling through local job classifieds with a growing sense of dread. The store, a cramped space filled with dusty vinyl records and scratched guitars, had been my livelihood for 5 years, but whispers among the staff had turned into a grim certainty. We were shutting down within the year. The regional manager hinted that transfers were unlikely. Too many stores were already struggling. With rent looming and savings dwindling, I'd spent the last few days morosely scanning listings, each one blending into the next with promises of minimum wage and soul-crushing monotony. Then, one had caught my eye, not because of its eloquence, but because of its stark simplicity. Best I can recall, it read, "Job available. Good pay. No benefits. Discretion required." Below that, a single email address, no company name, no job title, no details. It was an enigma wrapped in a void, and in my boredom, it stood out like a beacon. I stared at it, my cursor hovering over the link, debating. Was this a scam? A prank? Or something stranger? My mind wandered to late-night conspiracy podcasts I'd listened to, tales of secret government gigs and underground experiments. Curiosity won out. I typed a quick, hesitant email, interested. Please tell me more. Half an hour later, my inbox pinged with a response. No pleasantries, just a directive: report to a specific office building in the upscale part of the city at 2 p.m. the following day for my screening. The address was unfamiliar, a sleek high-rise I'd never had reason to visit, surrounded by glass towers and manicured lawns. I arrived early, nerves jangling, and waited in a sterile lobby with marble floors and a receptionist who barely glanced up from her screen. After a few minutes, a woman in a crisp suit escorted me to an office where I was handed a stack of forms and questionnaires, standard stuff at first, then veering into odd territory, questions about my tolerance for isolation, my reaction to stress, my willingness to keep secrets. I filled them out, my handwriting shaky, and handed them back. They told me they'd be in touch. I nearly forgot the whole ordeal, chalking it up to a weird detour, until a month later when my phone buzzed with a call. The voice on the other end was curt, informing me I'd advanced to the second stage of the hiring process. Another address, another precise time, this one a different office park, 20 miles away, nestled among tech startups and luxury condos. When I arrived, a man greeted me. Tall, with graying hair and a suit that screamed authority, he introduced himself as Mr. Solomon. His handshake was firm, his eyes assessing. He led me into a large room that felt more like a set piece than a workspace: a single chair, a desk, 2 large monitors, a keyboard, a mouse, and a bolted-down metal box with 2 oversized buttons, one red, one green. Solomon's explanation was clinical. The room was a model for my potential workplace. I'd work 7 6-hour shifts a week, arriving 10 minutes early to an outer locker room area. There, I'd store all personal belongings in a designated locker and change into provided work clothes. Under no circumstances was I to bring anything of my own into the surveillance room or take anything out. My task was straightforward: watch a live high-definition feed on the left monitor from a remote location, logging anything noteworthy hourly on the right monitor's terminal. No pens, no paper, no notes. The red button was for emergencies, anything on the feed or in my space requiring outside help. The green button was for events of real significance, to alert others monitoring the system, though I was urged to use it sparingly. A camera on the ceiling watched me, he said, and in the real room, it would be the same. I was a redundancy, a backup in case their primary systems failed. He smirked, asking if I understood redundancy. I nodded, biting back irritation. I don't articulate well under pressure, my words stumble, and people often mistake it for stupidity. Fine, I thought, let him underestimate me if the pay's worth it. And it was, $35 an hour. My mind reeled. That was triple what I'd earned at the store. Too good to be true, my mom's voice echoed in my head. I voiced my concerns: illegal, harmful. Solomon laughed, shaking his head both times. The pay, he explained, was for discretion and professionalism. The work was critical, confidential, and I'd sign non-disclosure agreements with legal teeth, sued or jailed if I breached them. I'm only breaking that now because of what's unfolded. The offer was tempting. I quit the store that day, feeling a pang of guilt for leaving my team high and dry but exhilarated by the prospect of easy money. The job site, when I found it, was a nondescript building on the city's edge, guarded by a high fence and a keypad entry. Inside, it matched the model, a locker room with my name on a locker, a small bathroom attached to the surveillance room, a water cooler in the corner, though I couldn't bring food or drink in, so I ate before or after shifts. The monitors were live. The right was a black and white terminal for logs, no internet, no distractions. The left, it showed a room. A bedroom, I suppose, bed, sofa, chairs, tables, open space, filmed from a high corner, capturing nearly everything. But I barely noticed the furniture at first. All I saw was her. She was a little older than my 28 years, with delicate features and a quiet beauty that hit me like a punch. When I first saw her, she lay on her side on the sofa, asleep, her chest rising and falling softly. The image was crystal clear, even from the far end of the room. I leaned closer, drawn in, then jerked back, cheeks burning. It felt wrong, voyeuristic, like I was a peeping Tom, a term my mom used to scold me about as a kid, sneaking glances at forbidden things. I wrestled with it. This was a good job, legal, or so they said. She looked unharmed, the room comfortable. Maybe it was an experiment, or she'd consented. I was overreacting, I told myself, projecting fears onto a blank slate. So I sat, started my shift, and watched. Days turned into weeks, and I learned more. I called her Rachel in my mind, a name that felt right, though I had no proof. She never left the room of her own accord. Periodically, men and women in strange, uniform-like outfits entered, escorting her out. Sometimes she resisted, her body tensing, her head shaking. Other times, she went quietly, shoulders slumped. They always brought her back. Those shifts when she didn't return during my watch were agonizing. I'd fret until the next day, relief flooding me when I saw her again, watching TV, painting, seeming fine. Even when she fought, they handled her gently, no bruises, no tears. Still, something gnawed at me. This wasn't normal. I considered quitting, hitting the red button for answers, or calling the police with the feed as evidence. But fear held me back, fear of job loss, of retribution from Solomon's vague others. He'd warned me, discretion meant no questions. My role was defined, and I'd never be asked to do more, but I couldn't discuss or inquire about it. So I rationalized. It's an experiment. She's ill, they're helping. She's employed like me. Or, if she's a prisoner, I'm her guardian, watching to ensure her safety. If they hurt her, if her distress became undeniable, I'd act. For now, I was protecting her, in a twisted way. Looking back, those excuses feel hollow, and I judge myself harshly for them. But when the situation shifted, I didn't ignore it. I acted. Rachel painted daily, usually during my afternoon shifts. The room had no windows, but she kept a rhythm, perhaps by a hidden clock or her body's clock. I loved watching her. The canvas faced away, but her face told the story, peaceful, serene, a smile flickering as she perfected a stroke. It brightened my monotonous shifts. A few weeks ago, that changed. She painted more often, her focus sharpening into intensity, her movements taut with strain. I thought she was pushing herself, and I wanted to murmur, "Take a break, Rachel." In 3 days, she finished 4 paintings, unprecedented. Worry crept in as I watched her labor, talking to the monitor as if she could hear, "Rest, please." She didn't. Instead, she arranged the canvases on the sofa's back and seat. The first time I saw her work, they were breathtaking. A lush green forest, an ancient stone well, a solitary house on an island, an old-fashioned movie theater, each a dreamscape with swirling colors like leaves in the wind. But squinting, I noticed faint traces, words, subtle and ghostly, woven into the hues. Leaning close, my heart thudded as I deciphered them, reading aloud, "Please. Help. Me. Thomas." I recoiled, hand over my mouth. She knew my name. How? The room spun. This wasn't an experiment or a job, it was a cry for help, directed at me. Panic surged. Was this a setup? A test? Or was she truly trapped, using her art to reach me? I didn't know how it was possible, but I couldn't unsee it. For hours, I sat frozen, the green button taunting me. Of real significance, Solomon had said. This qualified. But what would happen if I pressed it? Would they silence her? Me. The red button loomed too, emergency, but what constituted that here? I needed time, answers. I logged the hour's uneventful start, my fingers trembling, and watched her. She sat still, staring at the paintings, then at the camera. Did she know I was there? The next shift, she painted again, a fifth canvas. The words were bolder, Thomas, C. My name, a command. I scrutinized the room, no clocks, no mirrors, just her and the camera. Was she signaling through the feed? I replayed her movements in my mind. The outfits, the escorts, the lack of windows, it screamed captivity. Yet she wasn't malnourished, beaten, or broken. It was psychological, a prison of the mind. I confided in myself, whispering to the monitor, Rachel, I'm trying. I don't know how to help. The green button beckoned, but fear paralyzed me. What if they monitored my logs? I typed vaguely, subject active, painting session extended. Safe, but useless. I needed proof, a plan. Days passed. She arranged the 5 paintings in a circle, stepping back to study them. The words formed a plea, my name a anchor. I sketched them mentally, forbidden to write. The forest, escape. The well, depth, secrets. The house, solitude. The theater, performance, illusion. The 5th, a swirling abyss, red, free me. My resolve hardened. I couldn't quit, I had to act from within. I began watching patterns. The escorts came every 3 days, always during odd hours. The room's lighting never changed, artificial, controlled. Rachel's schedule was rigid, paint, eat, sleep, repeat. I timed her absences, never over 4 hours. They weren't torturing her physically, but the isolation was its own torment. I wondered about her past, her capture. Was she a volunteer gone wrong? A victim? The paintings suggested intent, not madness. Point 1 shift, she stared at the camera for an hour, unmoving. I logged it, heart pounding. The green button felt heavier. That night, I dreamed of her, her eyes pleading, the paintings bleeding color. I woke sweating, determined. The next day, I pressed the green button, nothing happened immediately. Then, a voice crackled through a hidden speaker, explain. I stammered, unusual activity, prolonged stare. The feed flickered, Rachel gone. Panic seized me. Had I doomed her? The shift ended with no return. I left, haunted, logging nothing more. The next shift, she was back, painting furiously. A 6th canvas emerged, thank you, Thomas. Relief washed over me, then dread. They knew I'd noticed. The escorts came twice that day, lingering. I hit the green button again, logging, increased activity. The speaker crackled, cease unnecessary alerts. I was on thin ice. I studied the room's edges, noticing a vent, small, high, inaccessible. A camera blind spot. I memorized its position. Rachel's paintings grew darker, stormy skies, chained doors, a face with hollow eyes. The words, they watch. Hurry. My fear morphed into anger. I was complicit, but I could change that. I devised a plan. During a log break, I feigned a coughing fit, covering my mouth with my sleeve, whispering into it, Rachel, vent, top left. Risky, but the ceiling camera couldn't hear whispers. She glanced up, then painted a vent, exact spot. She understood. The next shift, she positioned a chair under the vent, standing on it, reaching. The escort stormed in, dragging her off. I hit the red button, shouting, emergency. The door burst open, Solomon, flanked by guards. What's this? He demanded. I pointed at the feed. She's trying to escape. They reviewed the footage, faces grim. Solomon pulled me aside. You've breached protocol. She's a subject in a classified study, mental health, isolation effects. No harm intended. I pressed, why the secrecy? The paintings. He sighed. Her art's a coping mechanism. You're not trained for this. You're done. I was escorted out, NDA enforced, pay severed. But I couldn't let it go. I researched the office parks, owned by a shadowy research firm, linked to experimental psychology. Rachel's face haunted me. I contacted a journalist, anonymously, with details. Weeks later, a story broke, illegal human trials exposed, subjects rescued. Rachel's name wasn't listed, but I hoped she was free. Now, I watch the news, wondering if she paints still, if she remembers the men who watched her. I broke my silence to tell this, risking all, because some secrets demand light.
We just moved into our first flat together, cheap rent, no deposit, it felt too good to be true. On our first morning, I found a note left by the old tenant. Rule 2 said, never use the lift between 1:11 and 3:33 a.m. My boyfriend's shift started at 4. He left at 3:15. And now he's gone. Yesterday, I moved in with my boyfriend, Jamie, a milestone 5 years in the making. We're young but feel old enough to settle down, finally escaping our parents' homes. He turned 24 last month, and I'm 22, both of us weathered by life's early challenges but strengthened by our love. Jamie is the love of my life, his warm brown eyes, crooked smile, and the way he hums off-key while cooking have anchored me through every storm. Living together felt like the natural next step, a dream we'd whispered about during late-night talks, curled up on borrowed couches or under threadbare blankets at his mom's place. The decision to move came after months of restless planning. For 2 grueling months, we scoured listings for flats and houses, our budget a constant shackle. Buying was out of the question, property prices in the city soared beyond our reach, a cruel joke for a couple clinging to modest dreams. Renting was our only option, but even that felt like a lottery we couldn't win. For what we could afford, barely scraping by on Jamie's fast food wages and my meager teacher training stipend, we'd be lucky to secure a box room with a single-burner stove. Jamie works nights at a 24-hour fast food joint, the kind with fluorescent lights and grease-stained counters, while I'm in the early, unpaid stages of teacher training, buried under student loans that loom like a dark cloud. Finances were tight, our savings a fragile thread, and the pressure to find a home gnawed at us daily. We'd nearly given up, scrolling through the same overpriced listings, when we stumbled upon our flat. It wasn't a palace by any stretch, tucked into a weathered tower block in a rough part of town, but to us, it was perfection. A spacious 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony overlooking a scruffy city park, it boasted local shops within walking distance and a sense of possibility. The area wasn't glamorous, graffiti tagged the stairwells, and the hum of traffic never fully faded, but neither of us came from wealth. I grew up in a cramped council flat with peeling wallpaper, Jamie in a row house where the roof leaked every winter. We weren't fussy, just grateful to build a life together. The advert sweetened the deal with a deposit-free option and an open-ended tenancy, a rarity in this cutthroat market. The landlord, a shadowy figure we never met, offered a 5-year contract if we wanted, a promise that felt too good to be true. We were told there'd be no inspections, just a responsibility to cover damages when we left. I'd never heard of such terms, no landlord oversight, no meddling, but it aligned with our desperate need for stability. For our budget and location, we knew we wouldn't find better. We snapped it up without a viewing, a leap of faith fueled by hope and exhaustion, signing the lease online with shaky fingers. Move-in day arrived in a blur. Yesterday, we collected the keys to our first home together, a moment that felt surreal, like stepping into a new chapter of a book we'd been writing for years. The tower block, a gray monolith with chipped paint, loomed over the park, flat 42 on the 7th floor, our new address. The day was chaos, boxes teetering in the cramped lift, removal men grumbling as they hauled what wouldn't fit up 7 flights of stairs. I felt a pang of guilt for their effort, wishing we could have tipped them more, but our wallets were empty. By evening, we collapsed onto a second-hand sofa donated by a cousin of a friend, its springs creaking under us. We smoked cigarettes on the balcony, the park's dim lights flickering below, and watched a grainy movie on a borrowed TV. Too tired to assemble our bed, we dragged the mattress to the floor and fell asleep, limbs tangled, the city's hum lulling us into a deep, contented slumber. Last night, I felt safe, happy, a rare peace after years of uncertainty. But that feeling shattered this morning, and it's all because of the note I found. I was sipping coffee in the kitchen, the clock ticking past 9 a.m., hours after Jamie left for his early shift. The kitchen, with its faded cabinets and linoleum floor, held a strange allure, as if it held secrets of its own. Rummaging through a wall-mounted cupboard left by the previous tenant, I uncovered a trove of useful items: spare keys to the flat, a set of tiny keys for the window locks, essential for safety this high up, extra smoke alarm batteries, and a folded piece of paper. The paper stood out, its edges worn but the handwriting on the outside pristine: "New occupier of flat 42, in elegant cursive." My heart skipped as I unfolded it and sat at the wobbly kitchen table to read. The words were too vivid to paraphrase, so here they are, copied verbatim. "Dear new occupier, firstly, welcome to your new home. I lived here before you for 35 years with my husband. Unfortunately, he had an incident at home recently that I'd rather not discuss that claimed his life. My sister has now decided I can't keep up with the demands of the property, and has insisted that I move in with her and her husband. I was reluctant at first, but the stairs do kill me at my age, and without Bernie it's filled with sadness, anyway. When you've lived somewhere for as long as I have, it feels like a person that you know. You understand its personality, and what makes it tick. I thought it was probably pertinent that I impart some of that knowledge on you. It's a wonderful home, honestly. I have lived through best and worst years, and leaving it behind is very emotional, but if you are to survive and get the best out of it, then there are some steps you need to follow. Point 1. The landlord will never bother you. He doesn't visit, call or communicate in any way. But make sure to pay your rent in a timely fashion always. I have only dealt with him once in 35 years, and let's just say I never missed another rent day. Any repairs required, you speak to the agent you rented the place with. Point 2. Do not use the communal lift between 1:11 and 3:33 a.m. Just don't do it. This step is vital if you are to have a happy life here. It really is life or death. Don't do it. This has cost me and many others in the building greatly, and I would rather not elaborate on why you shouldn't do this. Just please don't do it. I cannot stress this enough. Point 3. When you hear the strange animal noises coming from flat 48, don't question it. Mr. Prentice lives there, and he's a lovely chap. Don't be afraid to say hello to him in the corridor or on the stairs. He's old school, so he never risks the lift, but whatever you do, don't check on him when you hear the noises. You'll know when you hear them. Point 4. If you ever come across a window cleaner on the balcony, ignore him. He may seem like the nicest fellow you've ever had trying to sell you something at the door, but it really is best that you don't engage. He will go away if you ignore him. But he tries pretty hard the first few times, so you'll need some resilience. Whatever you do, don't offer him anything. No money, no hot drink. Point 5. Don't leave food scraps out. Bin or refrigerate them immediately. If you have small animals, it is imperative that you watch them eat, and take away any leftover food immediately after they are done. This and Rule 2 go hand in hand. The things forage all day and seem to really love animal feed. You don't want them in your flat. I promise. You can leave what you want out between 1:11 and 3:33 a.m., so you may want to feed your pets then. Point 6. Don't communicate with any neighbors who claim to come from flats 65 to 72. These flats suffered a fire in the late 80s that devastated the whole floor. All the residents died in their homes. The building was mostly council-owned at the time, and they never bothered to renovate the flats. They've been empty ever since, but every now and again someone will knock at your door claiming to live in one of these flats and ask to borrow some sugar. They will seem entirely average, but you must shut and lock the door immediately. I installed 2 extra security bolts to avoid these fuckers. I don't like to swear at my age, but they really are fuckers. Point 7. Simple one for you here: keep a weapon in each room. Sometimes you follow all these steps and something still slips through the net. Better to be safe than sorry. Point 8. The building has a committee that will try and get you to join. It's one of those neighbors groups about improving living conditions for all residents. It's a nice group, and the lady who runs it, Terry from flat 26, is a fantastic neighbor. By all means get involved. But I wouldn't recommend babysitting Terry's 2 children. She'll ask you because the poor woman needs a break, but if you accept, don't say I didn't warn you. Point 9. Stray hairless cats sometimes roam in the hallway. I know they're supposedly a special, expensive breed, but they don't belong to anyone. They're mostly harmless, but don't pick them up. Not unless you see one of those neighbors that claims to live in 65 to 72. Then grab the cat and lock it inside with you. It'll burn your skin a little, but the cats are friendly, and I wouldn't want to see them hurt. Point 10. There is no way to fix the damp patch on the ceiling in the bedroom. Sometimes it will turn a deep crimson and look quite concerning, but please try not to be alarmed. It doesn't drip, it doesn't get any bigger, and it's been there longer than I have. The landlord won't budge on it, according the agents. I flagged it many times, even called the police the first night it changed color, but it was a waste of time, and it will be for you too. It's best to ignore it. Point 11. You can trust the postman. His name is Ian Flanders, and he's been the postman since before I moved in. He has his own key to the main door and delivers post to the door every morning at 8:54. I can't include everything here, or it would become a novel, but if you have any questions, Ian will help you. Point 12. Finally, the first few weeks are the worst. You'll feel like you've made a mistake. I'm sure reading this you already do, but if you can get through the first few weeks, it really is a lovely block to live in. Every property has its quirks, and this one is a little extra special, but you can be truly happy here if you just take my advice. I wish you all the best, I really do. Yours truly, Mrs. Prudence Hemmings. I sat there, coffee growing cold, the note trembling in my hands. My mind raced. Was this a prank? The agent had mentioned an elderly previous tenant, and Prudence Hemmings didn't sound like someone prone to jokes. Parts of the note rang true. The damp patch above our mattress, which Jamie and I had already debated reporting, was real, though not yet crimson. And yesterday, moving in, I'd admired a sleek SPHYNX cat prowling the hallway, its skin glistening under the fluorescent lights. The coincidences unnerved me, turning our dream home into a source of dread. I checked the clock, 9:14 a.m. Too late to catch Ian Flanders, the postman. Opening the door, I found 2 letters addressed to Mrs. Hemmings, their edges yellowed, as if they'd sat there for weeks. My stomach churned. At 11:15, my fears deepened. A middle-aged man with a genial smile and window-cleaning gear knocked on the balcony door. Rule 4 flashed in my mind. I ignored him, texting Jamie to rush home, my fingers fumbling. The man knocked for 10 minutes, his knuckles a relentless rhythm, shouting friendly pleas for a drink in the heat. Without curtains, still packed, I felt exposed, his gaze piercing through the glass. He lingered for 30 minutes exactly, then vanished, leaving no trace on other balconies or the ground below. Jamie didn't reply. Fridays were busy at the restaurant, but he always texted back. He was due home by midday, yet by 2 p.m., he hadn't appeared. Panic set in. I cried, leaving over 100 voice messages, my voice breaking with each plea. Finally, I called his work. His boss's gruff voice confirmed my nightmare. Jamie never showed for his 4 a.m. shift. My mind spun. His shift started at 4 a.m. He'd left at 3:15 a.m., likely taking the lift. Rule 2's warning echoed, do not use the communal lift between 1:11 and 3:33 a.m. It really is life or death. I clung to denial. Maybe Jamie wrote the note, roped his boss into a prank. But his scrawled handwriting couldn't mimic Mrs. Hemmings' elegant script. The lie crumbled. It was 6 p.m. now, the flat darkening, and he was still gone. What if it was true? What lurked in those forbidden hours? I paced, the note's rules replaying, each one a potential clue to his disappearance. Desperation drove me to action. I grabbed a kitchen knife, Rule 7's weapon, and checked the flat. The damp patch loomed above the mattress, a dull gray for now, but its presence unnerved me. I avoided the lift, taking the stairs to the lobby, the knife hidden in my jacket. The hallway was silent, save for a faint scrabbling from flat 48, Mr. Prentice's strange noises, per Rule 3. I resisted the urge to knock, hurrying past. Outside, the park was quiet, the tower block casting a long shadow. I asked neighbors if they'd seen Jamie, blank stares, shrugs. Back upstairs, I found a hairless cat lounging by our door, its skin warm to the touch. Rule 9's warning flashed, but it purred, a small comfort. I let it in, locking the door, its presence a strange ally against the unknown. I called Ian Flanders' number, listed in the building directory. His voice, gravelly but kind, answered. Ian here. What's the trouble? I explained Jamie's absence, the note, the lift. He sighed. Prudence warned me about this place. The lift, it's not safe at night. Things move then, things you can't explain. I've seen shadows, heard cries. Jamie might have, well, I'll ask around. Meet me tomorrow, 8:54 a.m., by the main door. Relief mixed with terror. I spent the night on the sofa, knife beside me, the cat curled at my feet. Sleep eluded me, my mind replaying Jamie's laugh, his promise to build our life here. At 1:11 a.m., a low hum vibrated through the walls, Rule 2's forbidden time. I stayed still, heart pounding, as faint scratches echoed from the kitchen. Rule 5's foragers. I checked, nothing but crumbs I'd missed. I binned them, trembling. Morning came, and Ian arrived punctually at 8:54 a.m. A wiry man with a weathered face, he carried a satchel of mail. No sign of Jamie, he said, but I've heard rumors, people vanishing after using the lift at night. Prudence lost Bernie that way, years ago. Said something took him during those hours. He handed me a letter addressed to me, postmarked today, with no return address. Inside, a single line, he's not coming back. Follow the rules. My knees buckled. Ian suggested checking security footage, but the building had none, another oddity. He advised joining the committee, meeting Terry from flat 26, who might know more. That afternoon, Terry knocked, a harried woman with tired eyes. Welcome. Care to join the committee? Or babysit my kids sometime? I declined the latter, per Rule 8, and asked about Jamie. She paled. He took the lift last night. Oh dear. We've lost folks that way. Strange things happen here, stay cautious. Days passed, each marked by oddities. The damp patch turned crimson one night, pulsing faintly, Rule 10's warning proven. I ignored it, as advised. A neighbor from flat 68 knocked, asking for sugar, his smile too perfect. Rule 6 kicked in. I slammed the door, bolting it, the cat hissing. The window cleaner returned, more insistent, but I held firm, Rule for my shield. The noises from flat 48 grew louder, growls, not animal but otherworldly. I greeted Mr. Prentice on the stairs, a frail man with a knowing nod, but avoided his flat. I fed the cat during the forbidden hours, leaving scraps out as Rule 5 allowed. Shadows moved in the hallway, but none entered. The first week was a gauntlet, as Prudence predicted, my hope fading with each unanswered call to Jamie's phone. 2 weeks in, I joined the committee, hoping for answers. Terry shared tales of vanishings, linking them to the lift. It's cursed, she whispered. Prudence said it opens to somewhere else at night. I asked about the landlord. No one's seen him, she replied. The agent handles everything. I contacted the agent, demanding the landlord's details. They stonewalled me, citing privacy. I explored the flat, finding a loose panel in the bedroom wall. Behind it, a journal, Prudence's. Entries detailed Bernie's disappearance, her encounters with the window cleaner, a salesman of souls, and the lift's history. She wrote of a 1980s ritual gone wrong, trapping entities in the building, the fire in flat 65 to 72 a cover-up. The crimson damp patch, she believed, was a seal, holding something back. The journal ended abruptly after Bernie's loss. Armed with this, I confronted Ian again. He confirmed the ritual rumor, adding, the cats are guardians, burned by the entities but loyal. The window cleaner lures you to break rules. He suggested a plan. Use the lift at 2 a.m. with a cat, hoping its presence repels the danger, to find Jamie. I hesitated, but love pushed me forward. At 1:50 a.m., I armed myself with a bat. Rule 7, the cat in my arms, its skin searing mine. The lift doors creaked open at 2 a.m. Inside, the air thickened, mirrors reflecting distorted faces, neighbors from 65 to 72. The cat yowled and the doors slammed, plunging me into darkness. A voice, Jamie's, whispered, "Run." I hit the emergency button, and the lift jolted, spitting me onto the 7th floor, the cat unscathed. Jamie wasn't there. The cat led me to the balcony, where a shadow lingered, the window cleaner. "Give me your soul," he hissed. The cat lunged, and he vanished. I collapsed, the notes rules my lifeline. Jamie was gone, but I survived, vowing to expose the truth.